1 minute ago, a line was crossed, not in Parliament, not in a manifesto, on the streets. 14 cities, same hour, same message, and Downing Street didn't see it coming. Before we roll the footage, just one thing. If you enjoy our work, drop a like and hit subscribe. Over 98% of you are watching without subscribing. Let's change that right now. It's free for you, but it fuels everything we do. Subscribed? Perfect. Now enjoy the video, because while ministers were briefing journalists and dodging questions, something else was happening. Quietly, deliberately, coordinated beneath the surface. WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels, leaflets slipped through doors before dawn. A single phrase repeated again and again, enough is enough. And this morning, that phrase exploded into real life. Britain is having a moment, not the glossy, Jubilee-style moment, not flags and pageantry. This is the kind of moment that rattles windows, the kind that makes police commanders cancel leave, the kind that forces Number 10 to pull emergency polling before breakfast. By lunchtime, it was confirmed. Protests planned in London, Birmingham, Leeds, Manchester, Norwich, Essex, Kent, Liverpool, Nottingham, Bristol, Coventry, Sheffield, Leicester and Wolverhampton. 14 locations, all linked, all targeting the same thing. Migrant accommodation sites, hotels, former office blocks, places most people never noticed. Until now. Here's the detail nobody briefed you on. These weren't spontaneous crowds. This wasn't Dave from the pub waving a cardboard sign. These were pre-registered demonstrations with stewards, legal observers and clear instructions. Stand here, don't block roads, film everything, say nothing to the press unless authorised. And that terrified officials more than any angry chant ever could. Because anger can be dismissed. Organisation cannot. According to internal Home Office correspondence leaked overnight and verified by 2 separate journalists, ministers were warned weeks ago this was coming. A briefing note circulated marked sensitive escalation risk. It outlined community flashpoints near taxpayer-funded asylum hotels. It predicted synchronised civic action if placements continued without consultation. That note was never discussed in Cabinet. Instead, the policy rolled on. Coaches arrived late at night, security fencing went up, locals woke to find their high street changed forever. No vote, no letter, no council meeting, just a new reality. And a quiet fury that grew with every unanswered question. By mid-morning, BBC News was running live feeds, protesters lining pavements, police vans idling nearby, officers wearing public order gear but keeping helmets off. A deliberate choice, de-escalate, observe, don't inflame. Placards told the story. Who decided this? Consult communities? Transparency now. Not slogans you can easily dismiss, not chants that fit neatly into a headline, and that's where the narrative cracked. Because within minutes, counter-protest groups arrived. Stand up to racism banners, anti-fascist flags, megaphones accusing demonstrators of hatred and fear-mongering. 2 Britons staring at each other across police tape, each convinced the other is the real danger. One officer on duty in Birmingham told The Guardian anonymously, "This feels different. People aren't just shouting, they're asking questions, and nobody has answers." That line spread fast, quoted, reposted, trending. On X, the hashtag Spalm, who decided. This overtook celebrity gossip by noon. By early afternoon, it passed 1 million mentions. Even Oxford University's Migration Observatory weighed in, releasing a rapid analysis noting a sharp decline in perceived democratic legitimacy around asylum housing decisions. Translation? People feel shut out and feelings in politics become force.
But I never thought
in Leeds, a local councillor broke ranks live on regional radio, voice shaking. "We found out the same way residents did," she said, "by seeing the buses arrive." Within an hour, party whips were on the phone. By evening, she'd resigned from her committee role. In Essex, protesters read aloud excerpts from council emails obtained via Freedom of Information requests. Lines about capacity pressures and limited stakeholder engagement. The crowd booed, not at migrants, at process, at secrecy. That distinction matters. But it's being lost. Because by mid-afternoon, headlines hardened. Far-right unrest feared. Police brace for violence. Government condemns extremist rhetoric. Language moved faster than facts, and into that vacuum stepped familiar figures. Nigel Farage posted a video from his car. Calm, measured, deadly. He cited figures from Bournemouth. 312 asylum seekers charged with 78 alleged offences in 3 years. None of this makes you racist, he said. It makes you awake. Within hours, the clip had more views than the Prime Minister's last 3 speeches combined. Love him or loathe him. Farage understands moments. And this was one. Inside Westminster, panic took hold. A Snap YouGov poll commissioned overnight showed trust in the government's handling of immigration had fallen another 6 points. Among working-class voters, it dropped into single digits. Advisers spoke of optics collapse. Behind closed doors, blame flew. Home Office versus local councils, Treasury versus Cabinet Office. Everyone had signed off. No one owned it. Meanwhile, the streets stayed tense but restrained. That was the most unsettling part. No smashed windows, no fires, just people standing there, filming, waiting. In Norwich, a woman spoke to Sky News, a nurse. She'd worked 12-hour shifts all week. I don't hate anyone, she said. I just want to know why my town was changed without asking us. Her clip went viral. Comment sections split down the middle. Compassion versus consent. And then came London. Because as if 14 coordinated protests weren't enough, central London was already braced for a massive pro-Palestine rally. Tens of thousands expected. The Metropolitan Police faced an impossible equation. Limited officers, multiple flashpoints, zero tolerance for disorder. A senior Met source described it as 3-dimensional chess in a burning room. Helicopters hovered, roads closed. Ministers urged calm. And still the sense grew that something had shifted, that immigration had escaped the policy bubble and landed heavily in everyday life, in pubs, on buses, at school gates. This isn't about numbers anymore. It's about control, about voice, about whether democracy still includes the people most affected by decisions. Critics argue compassion must come first, that asylum seekers are fleeing war, persecution, desperation. They're right, that's true. But compassion without consultation breeds backlash. Even experts agree on that. A leaked memo from a policy advisor at Oxford warned sustained exclusion of host communities increases polarisation risk. That memo never saw daylight until now. By evening, the Prime Minister finally spoke. A short statement, carefully worded. He condemned division and reaffirmed commitment to fair but firm immigration control. He did not mention consultation. He did not mention hotels. He did not mention the protests by name. That omission was noticed. The Guardian called it a silence louder than any chant. The Telegraph called it a dangerous misread. Even the BBC's political editor noted a growing disconnect between street-level reality and Westminster messaging. Inside the governing party, nerves frayed. Backbenchers from marginal seats demanded emergency meetings. One MP was overheard saying, "We're sleepwalking into something big." Because this weekend is not an endpoint. It's a signal. 14 cities didn't just wake up angry. They organised, they coordinated, they waited, and then they moved. History shows what happens when public mood hardens like this. Governments either adapt or they fracture. Other countries are watching. French media drew parallels to the yellow vests. Italian commentators warned of contagion politics. Even Brussels quietly requested briefings. This is no longer a domestic issue. It's a test case. So what happens next? Does the government pause placements? Does it open consultations, or does it double down and hope the noise fades? And what happens if it doesn't fade? Because once people realise they can move together across cities, across regions, the calculus changes. Permanently, this weekend could define the year, maybe the decade, not because of violence, but because of voice. 14 cities ask the same question. Who decided this? And until there's an answer, this story isn't going anywhere. So ask yourself, is this legitimate concern being ignored or dangerous division being fuelled? Can Britain find a balance between compassion and consent? Or has that window already closed? Stay tuned, subscribe, because whatever happens next, you're going to want to see it coming.